In order to graph a rational function that is not in the format that we worked on with the first day of notes, we're going to take some steps to put it into that format. We're also going to find some other elements of the graph, like the x-intercept and the y-intercept and things like that, which will help get us some points as well. So we're going to first follow through with some of the steps. Although this one doesn't need it, our first step is to simplify f of x. Again, you kind of want to think about it in terms of putting parentheses around. Can't simplify the x minus 2 over x plus 3. There's no factoring. The next thing we'll do is find the x and the y-intercept. Doesn't really matter what order you do these in, so I'm going to do the x-intercept first. And in this situation, it's probably the best thing to solve it almost as if you're doing a proportion. So just like we would have done with our solving equations, make that 0 over 1, cross multiply. So our x-intercept ends up being 2. When you record that, you want to record that as the point, 2, 0. So I'm just going to scroll down and put that down on the bottom. We'll do the same thing for our y-intercept. Actually, I'm going to move that down a little bit. Y-intercept's a little easier, you just simplify it. Again, keep these exact. So in this case, you would put negative 2/3, not negative 0.666. And in addition, make sure you write them as points. Now here's where it gets a little bit trickier. We're going to use synthetic division, which we haven't done in a while. And we're going to do that to rewrite it in the format which is up above. And the a value is going to end up being the remainder that we get from that. So we're going to start with synthetic division. We're dividing by x plus 3, so we're going to put a negative 3 in the corner. Just going to put a little separation there. And on top, our coefficients are just 1 and negative 2. So it's a short synthetic division. Remember, you're always going to bring down your first value, so we're going to bring down the 1. Multiply that by negative 3 and record your answer underneath the next term. And then add. Remember, it's multiply and then add. So the remainder is actually your a value. If you were going to write this in the format that we used to do, you would just write 1 minus 5 over x plus 3. It's not the exact format of the way we wrote these functions. We would just switch that and put the fraction part first. So it'll be negative 5 over x plus 3 plus 1. after this, we're going to identify our horizontal and vertical asymptotes. You don't have to write out the transformations here. You just have to know what they are. But you can list them if that helps. And then we're going to use our table to graph again. All right, so in this case, our horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals 1 because that's the outside number. And you might as well graph that right away. Our vertical asymptote comes from the fact that we're going to the left 3, so it's going to be x equals -3. Again, graph it right away. And then remember, you really can do your domain and range from here immediately. All right, and for table purposes, again, we're going to use that original starting table. We're going to use the stretching, and then we're going to do the 2 translatings. So since there's a -5 on the top, you're going to multiply the y column by -5 first. Then from the graph we're seeing we're going to the left 3 and we're going up 1. So we're going to do -3 on the x, +1 on the y. And you'll notice I switched over into decimals. It might make it easier to graph. I even put 5/2, but you could have put 2.5. Whatever's easier for you for graphing purposes is fine. In addition, we have other points we can plot, like the x-intercept and the y-intercept too. So I'm going to plot those and the points that are in the table. That's my x-intercept, not in the table, but I want to plot it. My y-intercept's -2/3, 0, -2/3. Put that in there. And then we'll put all the rest of the points we have. So we have -2, -4, -1, -1.5. That gives you a nice connection for that branch. And you only really get 2 for the other one, but that's fine. Again, you don't have to label your points on here. You just got to get the nice branches in there and plot the points. So I'm going to stop with this one for the first video. We're going to do a second one for the next graph so that you can take a nice pause.